Hey everybody. Once again, I'm out in this beautiful garden, my wild garden. And I don't really know what to say. I'm just being asked to say something kind of funny. If I could plan a little bit, it seems like the messages would be more concise. Right now they just seem too random. But oh well, this is the way it is. I picked 25 apples from my tiny little apple tree that I planted like 5 years ago. It fruited the first year, but it was one of those bare root grafted trees, and at the time I didn't really realize that those weren't really good trees to have. Anyway, it came into my life when everything else was falling apart. This whole garden started right before everything fell apart. And so systems I started putting into place have had a chance to start maturing. Or they started maturing. They matured. The forest garden I wanted never matured because I could never figure out what plants to put in or anything. So there was only a few that managed to survive my neglect. The few I put in there, but it was never a complete system like I hoped to someday figure out. Full of guilds and different eco-communities, different with dynamic accumulators and whatever. I titled this video Quail Run because that's the totem that's here right now. I'm surrounded by quails. You probably can't hear them. You can probably hear the cars over anything. But right now I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's probably 9 quails, rather close to me, and it's quite hilarious because they walk more than they fly. And it's funny to watch them because they usually go around in groups. Right now they're starting to walk across a parking lot of a store that's next door to my house. And let's see, how many are there up there? Yeah, there's 9 of them there. And it's just so hilarious the way they run. Little feet. Quail run. And then, because there's some big trees back behind where I am. Cottonwoods. The cottonwoods are important to me. They started becoming important on this journey right about that same time. Supposedly they produce their catkin things before they produce catkins have a resin type stuff in it that you can use to produce something called the balm of Gilead, an herbal thing that you put on the skin to assist it. I've never done anything with it. At one point I had all this interest in herbs, but never went anywhere with it. So the quails, though, like to go around in the back. And it's hilarious because they make so much noise. I have looked back there so many times wondering, well, where's the person I keep hearing? I mean, this is how much noise these guys make. They sound like they're a person stomping around through the grasses and the dry leaves and whatever. I mean, they sound much bigger than they are. So what does quail run mean? You know what? I have a bad habit of chewing gum. I should probably get rid of that. You probably don't want to see me chewing gum all the time. Okay. So, Layla had an interesting dream last night. And she dreamed that we were walking across this bridge in town. That instead of the 2 paved roads, because it has 1 road on each side of a divide. And instead of that, one side was gravel and the other side was grass. We tried walking on the grassy side when Maleficent and the people she was with ran us off. And we were only allowed to walk on the rocky side. And so we do. We walk across the bridge on the rocky side, and they continue sauntering along the grassy side. We get across the bridge, and Layla and I decide, you know what, we're not doing this anymore. There's a park over there. We're going to go to that park. even though it means that we have to cross over the grassy side, cross over on their side. We go to the park, and Maleficent's daughter and the other kids that were there suddenly start running after me, and they like me, and I'm playing with them. And Maleficent gets really mad because the kids are enjoying themselves, and then the other people start enjoying themselves. And Maleficent dresses up as in a Halloween costume as a vampire. And then she also tries to dress up as a queen. And both times, she's not really getting the attention she wants. It's just kind of starts throwing a little fit or something like that, and that's where the dream ends. I told Layla it was a very poignant dream for many, many reasons. I mean, this was so heavily loaded with symbology, but it also seemed very obvious what the meaning was. One of the first things that came to me is in the Bible, it talks about how to build one's house on the solid ground, not on the shifting sands. Well, I'm also thinking about when they build things, they don't build things on top of sod or grass. They're going to dig down to the rock, to start to build something. The bigger the building, the deeper the foundation, but the foundation is usually on something more solid, and grass obviously is not solid. People want the soft, fluffy things because they feel that that's what's going to lead them to happiness. Grass looks soft and fluffy, and people consider rocks to be hard and callous or whatever, but rocks are stable. They're going to last and be around long after the grass has faded. And it was interesting because I'm having a conversation with Casper the other day, and I'm talking about all the various grasses and the interesting properties I've come to observe of grasses that really have given me a better understanding of grass, if you look at it as a plant totem, the various meanings that could be in there. But for this particular dream, and what I was talking about with grass, is that for the most part, you have two types of grass. You have wild grass, and you have domesticated grass. And then I was even talking about the different types of wild grass and how coddled it is. So I was talking about when I went to Paradise, how the grass over there, I made a comment that the grass was so weak because the moment I walked on this grass, the next day I came out and it was all dead and brown. And I'm thinking of the grass around where I live. I mean, you can't get rid of this wild grass. It's crazy. I mean, it comes up, with the spring rains. Actually, sometimes even once there's like a modicum of it warming up, the grass shoots up, and it shoots up incredibly fast and sets its seeds and goes through its entire life cycle within the span of a couple of weeks because we live in a drought area. But even at that grass will persist as green grass for months and months until basically there's no more chance it's going to get any water. I mean, in some places I've seen the grass last for, almost until the fall. And if it doesn't hold out that long, that's fine, it dies down. But then once the fall rains come back and there's it's still warm and now it's wet, the grass comes back and starts in for a second thing. This is wild grass. However, domestic grass is very different. And this was the type of grass that Layla was talking about in her dream, that they wanted to walk on the soft, fluffy grass. Domestic grasses are very weak. They require tons and tons of water. And the thing is, like I've had the benefit of observing this in a couple different locations. And like the grass can be watered in one location. And 2 feet away, the grass will be dead if it doesn't get water. So it's like the entire surface has to be watered. Unlike other perennial plants, and this is what I'm playing with in my wild garden back here, is I'm creating structures that are allowing for the retaining of water. And right now they don't look very glamorous or whatever because there's a lot of sticks laying around, a lot of, cardboard, magazines, newspapers. It looks rather messy. I started really putting a lot of effort into it this year after letting all the sticks I buried 5 years ago just lay there in the ground. So This year, yeah, it looks much more like a purposeful garbage heap, which is beautiful. But the point is, most perennial plants, and grass is considered a perennial plant, they send out their roots so they could go find water. This is what they do, you know. But I mean, grass actually acts more like a pathetic little annual plant that can't get its own water because it puts so much effort into blooming that it doesn't put any effort into a root system. So I realized that domestic grass really does not have much of a root system because it won't go over to the area that's getting water. You know, unlike its wild cousin bamboo, it doesn't matter where it's planted. If it's not receiving water right there, it'll go travel to where it's going to get water and it'll move. It moves itself. It's, you know, it's amazing. But like corn is domestic grass. Corn will die literally within a days if it doesn't get water. I don't know about wild corn. I don't know about, you know, because there's the Three Sisters crop that the Native Americans would plant with corn, beans, and squash. That was probably, considering the time, a much wilder version of corn. Probably much more able to take care of itself than our domestic weak corn. We make our plants right now so weak because we coddle them too much. We put too much fertilizer and water and just try to give them the absolute perfect conditions so that way they can manifest a bountiful harvest for us. But what happens is that requires an intense amount of energy. And if that energy for some reason becomes upset, well, those plants that have become reliant on that excessive coddling, they die. So, right now my mind is being led to what the Holy Spirit is bringing me through. I think I mentioned a while back that I don't really have much spirit realm communication, if any. Pilly shut me down, and that's fine. I don't need it anyways because it can't help me. Because the things I have to figure out, there's really nobody out there that can help me figure that out. And there is other entities trying to hijack things and stuff like that. I really just need to keep my vibration low so I can learn to rely more on my animal instincts and pay attention and figure things out. So being in this state, everything is God. And there is no differentiation right now for whosever voice it is, because right now it's all God. It all sounds the same. It's comforting because I kind of missed going back to the time before Bethel, before all this began, when it was just me and God sitting in this wild garden and him saying, I want you to go to church. I really missed that time. There was something special about just me and God. When after that, a year later, I had my awakening to spirit communication. And it was, you know, there was good things and bad things about it. But one of the things was when you can start to differentiate between individual voices, God really lost magic. That actually in itself was heartbreaking for me. So it's a great thing to have God back. And as such, to just say the guidance system is the Holy Spirit. I'm going to cut this off for now and figure out where things are going. My phone keeps giving me notifications all of a sudden, and I'm a little bit weirded out by that because nobody contacts me unless something's wrong. So I love you, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.